Welcome to The Subtext, a pastor's perspective on Hacksaw Ridge. It's a privilege to have you here. Today, I want to take a deep look at one of my favorite films. It isn't just a war movie, it's a story about conviction, courage, and the power of faith lived out under severe fire. A war film directed by Gibson and based on the true story of Desmond Doss, Hacksaw Ridge gives us a living picture of what it means to be a Christian who stands firm when everything around you says to compromise. Now, I don't usually recommend war movies lightly because of their violence and intensity. But Hacksaw Ridge is one of those rare stories where the testimony of Christ shines through in the middle of the graphic depiction of war and darkness. Desmond Doss was a Seventh-day Adventist. This video is not about their doctrinal view because there's a lot to say about that, but I digress. Desmond volunteered to serve in World War II as a conscientious objector, and with one non-negotiable: he would not carry or fire a weapon. His faith and experience taught him that taking a life, even in war, went against the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill." He wanted to save lives, not end them, so he joined the army as a medic. But from day one, he was mocked, beaten, and labeled a coward by his fellow soldiers. They couldn't understand why a man would enlist for war and refuse to touch a rifle. To them, faith looked like weakness. There's a moment early in the film where the entire unit despises him. They laugh at him during drills and try to push him out. Even his commanding officers threatened to court-martial him. No one wanted him around. They saw his faith as a liability, something that would slow them down or get them killed. And yet, Desmond quietly held his ground. He never argued, never retaliated. He simply said,
I had a job in a defense plant. I could have taken a deferment, but that ain't right. It isn't right that other men should fight and die, that I would just be sitting at home safe. I need to serve. I got the energy and the passion to serve as a medic. Right in the middle with the other guys, no less danger, just while everybody else is taking life, I'm gonna be saving it. With the world so set on tearing itself apart, it doesn't seem like such a bad thing to me to want to put a little bit of it back together.
when insulted, he didn't insult back. When rejected, he stayed obedient. That's 1 Peter 2:23 in motion. When he was reviled, he did not revile in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten but continued entrusting himself to him who judges justly. Fast forward to the Battle of Okinawa. The same soldiers who mocked him are now broken, bleeding and terrified. When the fighting gets fierce, Desmond stays behind, not to fight but to rescue. Over and over again, he drags wounded men from the battlefield, luring them down the ridge one by one, praying each time,
Lord, help me get one more. Help me get one more.
He works through the night, covered in blood, exhausted, risking his life for the very men who once hated him. He washed a man's eye, and the man said,
I thought I was blind.
That's the gospel. Romans 5:8 says, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Desmond saved the men who cursed him, just as Christ saved those who rejected him. One of the most powerful contrasts in the entire movie comes near the end. Earlier in the film, they mocked him for praying. They thought his faith made him weak. They tried to break him for it. But by the end of the battle, those same hardened soldiers refused to go up the ridge until Desmond prays for them.
You're supposed to begin that assault 10 minutes ago.
We're waiting, sir.
Waiting for what?
Private Doss to finish praying for us, sir.
Think about that. The man they ridiculed became the man they relied on. The one they said didn't belong became the one whose relationship with God they trusted the most. In that moment, prayer, which once looked like weakness, became their most significant source of courage. It's a complete reversal. It's what happens when a life truly glorifies God. Matthew 5:16 says, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. That's precisely what happened on Hacksaw Ridge. His faith didn't just survive the battlefield, it transformed it.
So your mama raised you?
I knew her, but she gave me to an orphanage when I was 5. Never saw her again. I learned how to hate quick. Learned how to judge people quicker, and I got you very wrong.
There's a profound lesson here for every believer. Initially, your faith may make you appear foolish. It may make you stand alone. However, if you remain faithful, God can turn ridicule into reverence and opposition into a testimony. People may not understand your convictions at first, but they will see your peace, perseverance, and power in Christ. And eventually, they'll know that your strength comes from somewhere real. Desmond's life reminds us that courage doesn't always look like fighting back. Sometimes it looks like kneeling in prayer, staying on your convictions, and walking into danger with your faith as your shield. In the end, Desmond Doss was awarded the Medal of Honor not for taking life but for saving it. He never compromised his beliefs, and God used his obedience to bring light to one of the darkest places on earth.
Nation's highest military decoration, and explains his view as a conscientious objector.
I thank God for letting me do my part in this war and saving the lives of my fellow men.
Hacksaw Ridge isn't just a war story. It's a story about faith that works, love that sacrifices, and prayer that changes everything. So if you haven't watched it yet, do. But don't just see it as a movie, see it as a modern parable of the power of a believer who won't let go of God, even when the world turns against him. And maybe the next time you face pressure to compromise, remember Desmond Doss. Remember that the same God who answered his prayer,
Please, Lord, help me get one more. Help me get one more.
still hears ours today. Thank you for watching the subtext. If this blessed you, leave a comment below, share it with someone who needs encouragement. And don't forget to subscribe for more Christ-centered content.
Desmond talks about one particular soldier he would never forget.
Blood had run down into the fellow's face and eyes. He was laying there just groaning and called for medic. I took water from my canteen and got some bandage, and I washed his face. And when that blood was washed from his eyes came up, man, he just lit up. He says, I thought I was blind. And if I hadn't got anything more toward that smile he gave me, I'd have been well repaid.
The routed Americans were called to a hasty retreat. Some were shot or bayoneted as they tried to climb down the cargo nets.
For the third time, we were kicked off of that escarpment. And we left many men up on top, injured men, wounded men up on top of the escarpment.
One of the wounded was Private John Santola.
The first time I got wounded, you don't know what it's all about till you get whacked. Desmond Doss, he was working on me, and he says, take it easy, you'll be all right. He says, and I couldn't believe how calm he was. And while he was working on me, I asked him, I says, you don't have any weapons. I says, I'll give you a 45. He says, no, he says, I can't kill anybody, He says, that's my religion. And I says to myself, he's a warrior,
Santola watched as Desmond disappeared into the mayhem. Out of 155 in Company B, 55 retreated under their own power. The rest remained on top.
The next thing I knew, to my recollection, was that there was a man up on top aiding injured men and bringing them back to the ledge.
And they says, yeah, there's some nut up there that's getting his butt shot off, saving the infantrymen.
That nut was about to become their most loved medic. What Private Desmond T. Doss did over the next 12 hours was nothing short of a miracle.
Every time I looked, he was there. He was letting these wounded down to the other people down below, the medics and one thing and another, taking them on down back below where they could be taken away.
He kept on dragging people back to the ledge and getting those people to the ledge so that he could lower those people to the bottom where they could be treated properly.
He was covered from head to foot in blood, and he was just a mess.
I happened to be in a position there where Doss was near me, and someone told Doss that there was a man out there that was wounded and needed help, and he went out there and got him. Period. And the mortar fire and the rifle fire was just heavy, real heavy. And I was down in my foxhole and shooting and peeping over the edge and everything. Doss got up and walked out there and got him and brought him back.
The bullets are flying and shells going off. You have to make yourself as small a target as possible. And so in order to get the men over here, I just caught them by the collar of the neck, and I got down close to the ground and dragged for all I was worth. Then I felt like the Lord impressed on my mind. That bowline knot you tied in West Virginia. Hey, that double loop. You know, I took that rope and I had a double loop. Then I put the leg through each loop.
Using that double loop bowline knot he discovered back in training, Desmond quickly secured each man and lowered him over the 70-foot cliff.
They were hollering at him, "Hey, Doss, get down from there. You can't stay up there. Get down." And he just, like he didn't hear them. Like they weren't there. One time you had one man on each arm. They were partially equipped where they could partially help themselves, and he was leading these one man under each arm, on with each arm, bringing them over there to let them down. I thought, this is amazing. How can this guy do this?
That's way over 150 pounds, I don't think, you know, maybe a little more when he's in the service, but not a very big man. So it was just amazing.
The wounded men lay scattered across the rocky plateau, some as far away as 125 yards from the cargo net. Desmond dragged or carried each man back to the edge of the escarpment by himself.
Time after time, I saw Doss go back into the enemy, into the Japanese, and pick up wounded, and bring them there and let them down on these ropes and one thing and another off of the escarpment. And the bullets were flying like bees or something. It was miraculous. I couldn't understand how he could do this. I was praying the whole time. I just kept praying, "Lord, please help me get one more." When I got this, I said, "Lord, please help me get one more." It was as if God had his hand on his shoulder. It's the only explanation I can give.
Desmond worked alone as the battle raged on around him, ignoring the constant danger. Knowing that the Japanese would torture a wounded soldier at night, Desmond refused to leave a single man on top.
I remember doing Hacksaw Ridge. I was late 20s, early 30s. I was young and fit and healthy, and I became obsessed with this character, Desmond Doss, and the miracles that he was performing. And I was like, you know, when we get into that scene where I'm dragging all the bodies, I'm doing it for real, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm going for it. Then I go to drag the first body, and he's like smaller than me, lighter than me, and I start dragging him, and I'm like, okay, no, put him on a wire. Put him on a wire, give me the assist. And it was take one of body one. But it made me realize it was like, this guy was filled with the strength of 1,000 lions. What I didn't expect was like, oh no, there's no way of a human being, especially built like me, being strong enough to carry one body to that distance, let alone 71, the size of Vince Vaughn and God knows who else.